right, guys, let me tell you a confusing story where we're going to hop all around. I understand this. It took me a while to understand this, and now I'll see if I can articulate it so that you can understand, because it's a little bit confusing. It's not simple to say. I have been wondering what 170 pounds looks like, specifically related to Neil Magny and Khamzat Chimaev. Neil Magny was the only guy raising his hand. He was like the kid in the front row of class, waving his hand, begging the teacher, call on me, and the teacher's looking around, pretending he doesn't see the kid. Okay. So I call Ariel, and I go, Ariel, what is going on here, and what am I missing? It appears that Khamzat needs an opponent. It appears nobody wants to fight him but Neil Magny, who is one person. Oh, and by the way, he only needs one person because it's a one-on-one fist fight. Ariel goes, Chael, that's exactly what's happening. He said, but you've got to back the tape up to March of this year, pandemic, right when the pandemic was hitting. Leon Edwards was scheduled to take on Tyron Woodley. That fight became a casualty of the pandemic for travel reasons put on Leon. Since that time, Leon has been offered a few opponents. I lost track. I can't remember. I mean, it's the better part of a year has gone by, but he's been offered a few opponents and didn't like the matchup. Didn't like where they were ranked, or didn't, you fill in the blank. Leon didn't like the matchups. So one problem with Khamzat Chimaev specifically as it pertains to Leon, I realize I'm here to talk Neil Magny, but I warned you guys this was confusing. Okay, put Magny over here. I'm on Leon real fast. One of the problems that Leon had with Khamzat is the same thing everybody else has with Khamzat, which is he doesn't have a number next to his name. He isn't ranked. A little annoying, right? But it's also redundant. It doesn't just fall on Leon. Many people have that same problem. Well, over a period of time, which again dates back to March of this year, to fast forward, we're in October of this year, because Leon has not competed or accepted fights, he himself found himself ineligible for a ranking. So because of this period of time, Leon Edwards, who was the number 3 ranked guy in the world, who has not lost in between, is now not ranked. If you were to ask me to try to explain to you what makes you eligible for a ranking, so on and so forth, that is a conversation for another time. I'm here to bring you the resolute, which is he is no longer ranked. Which now removes the argument of I'm not taking on an unranked guy, I'm ranked number 3. Like that or don't like that, I'm telling you the story. So the reason that Magny is being overlooked for Khamzat Chimaev is because all of a sudden now Leon's in the mix. So Leon went onto social media platform, of which I believe to be Twitter, and said, hey guys, don't believe the news you heard. I am still ranked. That was a little bit of a confusing one for me because the rankings are in black and white and he is not ranked. If you wanted to have the discussion of whether the number 3 guy who never lost should lose his ranking or not, go ahead and have it. I'm bringing you the reality that Leon's name is no longer in the top 10, which does mean the argument of I'm ranked higher than Chimaev and therefore I won't fight Chimaev does go out the window. Now what do you do? Let's just say, for example, that Leon and Chimaev get together, which appears to be the match that they're trying to make, which explains why Magny's in the front row waving his hand and nobody's calling on him. Okay, let's take that at face value. If Chimaev and Leon fight, Chimaev, the fastest rising star of 2020, Leon Edwards, who was ranked number 3 but is no longer ranked, if they go out and fight, are you telling me the winner doesn't get ranked? That's silly. Of course, whoever wins that fight will be ranked. Likely whoever loses that fight based on its competitiveness will also be ranked. So this once again brings us back to a point that we have very successfully proved over here in the course of the last month, which is the rankings don't matter. And I know that sounds like the rankings don't matter. Why do we do them? I'm only sharing with you, the audience. You've never known or cared about a ranking. It is a talking point at absolute best. And in all fairness, as a guy who talks about points, I don't have very much on it. I really don't have very much on it. I can't remember a video that I've ever brought to you guys that was titled ranking fill in the blank. But the mere fact that the number 3 guy who has not lost, who is now not ranked, and therefore sees that within himself as reason to fight a guy who he would not have previously fought because that guy wasn't ranked. Do you see where this gets confusing? Do you see where it gets silly? Go and do the fights. Win the fights you can win you can win them. The only thing that people are going to remember is, did you win the fight or not? I feel that this is further evidence to prove a point that we've already proven and knocked home. But the only person who misses out on turning down a fight because the opponent wasn't ranked, you could fill in any excuse there you wanted. I wasn't paid enough money. It wasn't a high enough place on the card. I didn't like the location it was at. My girlfriend told me not to do it. You can put any point in there you want. The only thing that happens is that that person, insert excuse, doesn't have a match. That's it. If you're in a profession and the job that comes with having matches and you get paid for it and you get recognized for doing it just by example, but you don't go out and do it, do you see where that becomes problematic? The only person that loses there is you by saying no. I think it does bring us back to, what do you do with Neil Magny? And whether Magny ends up being the de facto opponent for either Leon or Chimaev, or Magny moves on to somebody else, Magny still deserves the same amount of credit, which is he is the only kid in class who raised his hand. We like that kid. We like the guy in class willing to do something that other people won't do. So where does this go for Magny? Frankly, I don't even know where it goes for Leon and Chimaev. Apparently, we're trying to get those two together. And apparently, due to the ineligibility for ranking, Leon's reasoning for not fighting Chimaev no longer exists. So I'm going to guess that they get this figured out. Let's say they do. We still, as a community, need to give appreciation to a guy who is willing to do it, and that guy is Neil Magny.